What's going on, everyone? Welcome back. Today we've got another live fantasy football mock draft for you back on Yahoo with a 10-team half PPR mock where we will be selecting 5th overall right smack dab in the middle of it all. Should be pretty interesting. But while we wait for this draft to kick off, a quick reminder, if you enjoy, hit that like button, subscribe, give us a follow on Twitter at AllDayPigskin to continue interacting with us there. Let us hear in the comment section, agree, disagree, along with any other questions you guys might have. We'll do our best to answer them all, but with that being said, let's dive into it. The draft has kicked off. The first overall pick is going to be made shortly. If I had to guess, it would be Christian McCaffrey. And I've said this before, but since it is a half PPR mock, I do like to stress it from time to time. When it comes to rankings, when it comes to drafting these certain players, to me, there's not too much of a difference between, full PPR and half PPR for the most part. I kind of have them pretty close together. I think there's a little bit more of a drastic jump when you're looking at standard to full. So for this instance, maybe the biggest difference is like you see a couple more running backs early on or something like that. But otherwise, not too different. But enough chit chat. We're on the clock. And the first 4 picks have been made. They're McCaffrey, Lamb, Jamar Chase, Tyreek Hill. Here, I'm going to go with one of the top 2 running backs. It's splitting hairs, whether it's Breece, Bijan. Doesn't really matter. Let me kind of quickly pull up the draft board here while we're talking so you guys can see what's going on live as it takes place. But, kind of getting back to our selection of Bijan Robinson or Breece Hall, right? That was kind of the debate. I think it's a coin flip, and I think, honestly, the answer is going to change depending at what point in the offseason we are, because right now, there's nothing to talk about. Right? It's June. There's no games. There's no official camps yet, and we're kind of just waiting. So all we're going off is rumors, and honestly, right now, the big rumor is, kind of making the headlines. The Atlanta Falcons coming out from them is they're going to utilize Bijan Robinson the way Christian McCaffrey has been utilized. So, maybe because of that, his ADP a little bit higher right now. Some people in their eyes, he might be the number 2 guy. But either way, honestly, for me, it doesn't make too much of a difference. I have Breece Hall a little bit higher, but just by a smidge. So now we're back on the clock, and I'm looking at names here. I like Chris Olave, Travis Etienne, Sam Laporta, but there is a guy in the 3rd round, though, I think is going to be potentially a little bit of a better value pick because he's ranked way too low on the Yahoo board, Drake London. Now, yes, we'd potentially be getting him and Bijan Robinson, so not ideal, but, because they're both on the same offense. But I think he'd be a really, really good value. I wanted to quickly bring him up. What we ended up doing is drafting Travis Etienne. I was looking at the list of wide receivers, and nothing really, jumped out at me in terms of must-have guys. I think after Puka Nacua, he signifies that next drop in tier, and I think it's a big-time drop. From Puka to whether it's Marvin Harrison, Devontae Adams, Olave, Ayuk, Evans. I think there's a big difference, and in my opinion, I think that kind of transitions to a good spot of selecting some of these running backs, and that's kind of what we did there. So I like our selection of Travis Etienne. He was a guy last year that, kind of produced and was top 5, I think, in full PPR. So, again, not quite the same, but I think that he will not be too far off. Now, it's our turn to make another selection. I said it before. I think Drake London is tremendous value. Breakout potential. Yes, not ideal to have both him and Bijan Robinson. I'm not going to lie. In hindsight, if we selected Breece Hall, probably I'd feel a little bit better about this just because here you're really, really banking on the Atlanta Falcons having a good game. And if they don't, if that offense scores less than 10 points, less than 15 points, you're in trouble. But that's how much I believe in Bijan. That's how much I believe in Drake London with the additions of Kirk Cousins. So to me, my logic was let's go Drake London, a guy that I think will have a huge breakout potential because honestly, hand up, I was considering him in the second round, but I knew there was a good chance that he might make it back to us in the third. Gambled, we won. So I like that situation for us. Instead, what we ended up doing is getting another high upside PPR type of running back in Travis Etienne. Interesting that Josh Jacobs was selected as, this running back here ahead of a Pacheco, ahead of an Alvin Kamara, for example. I do like Josh Jacobs in Green Bay, don't get me wrong, but, there's some other running backs typically that I've seen being drafted ahead of him. So I do appreciate him getting some love, right? I can definitely acknowledge that. But after our Travis Etienne selection, and for what it's worth, I think we probably were kind of in that toughest spot here in the second round. I think the first round selection is pretty easy, but then, I would have loved if any one of these guys had dropped to us, whether it was Saquon, whether it was Puka, whether it was, Kyron, Garrett Wilson, Jahmyr Gibbs, Rachaad White also being drafted after Josh Jacobs. Tremendous value in the fourth round. I think you could have made an argument with him over Travis Etienne as well. So I'm just pointing out the really good values. But it's hard to make a selection. I think this is a really easy one for me. I'm going to go with Michael Pittman. Breakout season last year. I think he's a safe choice. And then let's see what happens. Let's see if maybe a Cooper Kupp can get back to us as our wide receiver 3. I'd be really happy about that. But kind of let's highlight the second and third rounds here, right? So after Travis Etienne, Derrick Henry, more of a standard suited guy. Sure, big touchdown upside, but he's going to lose some rushing opportunities because of Lamar. Then Marvin Harrison, Josh Allen, Devontae Adams. I can get more on board with this type of ADP for Marvin Harrison, by the way. Then Chris Olave at the start of the third round. I think that's really good value. Sam Laporta, then Josh Jacobs, then Pacheco. Laporta, the first tight end being drafted. Tough to argue that. Whether it's him or Travis Kelce, I think, again, really close. Then Jacobs, Pacheco. Again, Alvin Kamara, 2 rounds after Pacheco, I think is really good value. Again, it's a 10-team league, so some of these guys will fall, so keep that in mind. But still, the values on some of these, late mid-round running backs, Rachaad White, Alvin Kamara, have been absolutely tremendous. So after Pacheco, we saw Drake London, who was our selection. I kind of just went best player on the board, honestly. That's the way I looked at it. So I feel good about that selection. But now let's quickly make a pick because I said that I was hoping that Cooper Kupp would fall to us. He has. I potentially would have selected him in the last round. Instead, I get him in the 5th round as our flex play. I love that situation. I've said before that I could see him being better than Puka Nacua. I think Puka is just kind of the shiny new toy type of situation. So, I feel good about Cooper Kupp, fully healthy this year. I like the situation. But in the 3rd round, after we went Drake London, I think he has the highest upside out of really any of these wide receivers afterwards. Mike Evans. You can argue with Nico Collins. I can listen to that argument. But Ayuk, DJ Moore, Deebo Samuel, I really like the Drake London upside with Kirk Cousins. Travis Kelce at the 3-7. Jalen Hurts, the second quarterback drafted after Josh Allen. This is why I always say, I don't like drafting the first overall top-tier quarterback. And right now, the way the rankings go, that's Josh Allen. Because if you give me the opportunity to select Josh Allen here at the end of the 2nd round or Patrick Mahomes in the middle of the 4th round, I'm taking Patrick Mahomes all day, every day. Hell, even Jalen Hurts, a round and a half later. So A-Chain afterwards, good value, but depending on how you think that situation will play out, if he'll fully take over from Mostert, I'm not completely sure about that. In the 4th round, Brandon Ayuk, DJ Moore, Rachaad White, tremendous value here. I wanted to highlight that. Deebo, Patrick Mahomes, great value as well. Pittman, I feel pretty good about that value in the 4th round. Lamar, DK, Joe Mixon, Jalen Waddle, then Anthony Richardson. I think people got to start pumping the brakes on Anthony Richardson a little bit. I love it that he's got the rushing upside, but this is basically his first year, right? Then Alvin Kamara, James Cook, tremendous value on Kamara, Diggs, Cooper Kupp, I feel great about that. Then Aaron Jones, Kenneth Walker, Montgomery. So the next group of running backs has gone. I was really hoping that Trey McBride would fall to us. was crossed my fingers there because getting those positional advantages at tight end does make a difference, or really at any position at the quarterback or tight end position in these smaller leagues. I'm looking at running backs. I really like Zamir White. I want another running back. I want to guarantee that I'm going to get him. So maybe a little bit of a reach, but I feel good about it. And I think out of all the running backs that were left, let me just pull up the list. Like Ramondre, James Conner, Najee Harris, Raheem, DeAndre Swift, Zach Moss, Jalen Warren, Brian Robinson. He's the guy that by far and away has the best opportunities. He produced, no more Josh Jacobs. He produced at the end of last year, so I'm excited about that. Now, looking at these tight ends, because I did say, trying to get a tight end here that can be a difference maker for us is high on my list. Evan Ingram was in consideration, but I already had Travis Etienne. I didn't want to double up too much on like the same offenses. We would have had 2 Falcons, 2 Jags. So I looked elsewhere. Unfortunately, Dalton Kincaid does get drafted. I'm not going crazy here. I'm not drafting Kyle Pitts with the 3rd Atlanta Falcon on the squad. I'm not doing that. So we're just going to wait on the tight end position. It is what it is. And we're going to look elsewhere. Let's see if there's any great quarterbacks left. Kyler Murray. I guess we could go there, but I think there's good value at wide receiver. So let's continue to attack that position. I really like Terry McLaurin. He's been a mid-round wide receiver that I've been pumping up a lot. So we add him to the squad. I think he can have a breakout season, if you will, this year. And afterwards, I think we can finally start potentially looking at some of those quarterbacks in that next round, running back wise. Tough to get excited about anything here, but after Zamir White pick, there was 2 running backs selected. It was Ramondre and Raheem Mostert, so not too many. It was, like I said, there was that little tight end run with Ingram, with Kincaid. Good value on Devonta Smith at the end of the 6th round, by the way. Evan Ingram also good value. Joe Burrow goes here. And once we get to this group of quarterbacks, I'm kind of just like meh. Once we get past, I would say CJ Stroud. If I haven't gotten a quarterback by then, I'm just going to wait. I'm going to wait, and I'm perfectly content on waiting and, drafting, let's say, a Dak or a Aaron Rodgers, a Kirk Cousins, something like that. You're going to be fine, especially if you believe in, some of those veteran quarterbacks being healthy type of situation. Then in the 7th round, we saw Kincaid. That would have been my target if he was there for us to try and get some type of advantage of the tight end position. But instead, kind of what we've done here is just get the best value at running back and wide receiver. And then, whether it's stream quarterback, whether it's stream tight end, or, trade for one of those positions, figure that out after the fact. I still think there's good value at the tight end position here that we can make work. So, for example, right, looking at the tight ends. Oh, Jesus Christ, this is killing me. Kyle Pitts is still there. I really want him to get drafted because, right now, he's such a good value pick. He is such a good value pick. Because I think that I think he's going to bounce back, and I think that he's going to be an integral part of this offense. But I cannot draft 3 Atlanta Falcons offensive players because you're just begging for trouble if you do that. So I'm not going to draft Kyle Pitts. I'm going to look at Dallas Goedert. I'm going to look elsewhere. I'm going to look at Dalton Schultz, maybe a TJ Hawkinson, and if he gets hurt, some type of situation like that, or if he comes back from his injury earlier on. Now these other quarterbacks, I don't think it's anything special. Going back to the wide receiver position, Tank Dell, Hollywood Brown, good values. Running backs, Zach Moss is still there, potentially a starting running back at this point in time. I'll take that. Yeah, I like that situation for us. And then I'll take a tight end next round. And of course, now, some of the auto picks have hit. So you're seeing kickers and defenses. So probably Kyle Pitts is going to drop even more. At some point, we should practice just grab the value and run, regardless of the stacks. Then just get 2 tight ends. and be happy of the value that you got. But there is some other thought processes here that go behind it when you're putting together a fantasy football roster. So maybe we'll just go quarterback. Maybe we'll just go with a Jordan Love or a like it's too early for Aaron Rodgers. I'm just gonna queue up Aaron Rodgers afterwards. I'll go probably with like Jordan Love, and then I'll queue up Aaron Rodgers afterwards. I'll queue up one of these tight ends, and so that we kind of have that in the back of our pocket. And I think that then we can kind of look at the totality of this roster because we're getting. I mean, we've got 3 bench spots full, so might get another one here. And we're just looking for a quarterback and a tight end. But if we're talking about positional value, I think we did a good job. I think that we got some. I mean, you look at all of our running backs. These are all starting running backs, right? You look at all of our wide receivers. These are all the number one, arguably, wide receiver on those teams. So I like that situation for us. Quarterback and tight end does have to be addressed, though. So let's address that now. Please, for the love of God, draft Kyle Pitts. Somebody draft Kyle Pitts, and of course it doesn't happen. Jesus Christ. I'm going to draft Jordan Love. Have that quarterback position taken care of. Then I'm going to queue up Aaron Rodgers as a backup quarterback. And then for tight end, all right, I'm going to leave it up to faith. Kyle Pitts, Dallas Goedert. I think we're going to get one of those guys. And, I think we can kind of wrap this thing up because, again, a lot of auto picks. I don't want to drag this out too much. I think we've got the core of our roster. We've got a quarterback. We've talked about who our backup quarterback will be. We're going to get one of our tight ends, whether it's Goddard, whether it's Kyle Pitts. We've got flexibility to trade for a better tight end. And I think overall, the exercise was interesting here, interesting mock draft. I wish, looking back on it, we tried to get a little bit of a better tight end advantage earlier on. Or honestly, like, if I hadn't loaded up on the Atlanta Falcons, honestly, that's what it is. If I hadn't loaded up on the Atlanta Falcons, I would have taken Kyle Pitts rounds ago. And then I feel really, really good about this squad because I do think he is going to bounce back. He's going to break out. But overall, hey, let me know your thoughts on the situation. Again, a lot of good talent has dropped, a lot of top-heavy teams here. But at the end of the day, appreciate any and all feedback. If you guys have any questions, let me hear them. I'll do my best to answer them. If you enjoyed, hit that like button, subscribe, give us a follow on Twitter at AllDayPigskin to continue interacting with us there. But in the meantime, we'll see you guys in future videos.